Good morning. We are discussing IoT architecture. In the previous videos, we have studied about two architectures. They were one M2M architecture and IoT WF architecture. Okay. So actually, there are several other IoT architectures as well that are not that important, but it is will be good that if you keep them in mind. One is actually the Purdue model for control hierarchy. Purdue model for control hierarchy, and there is an industrial internet reference architecture or IIRA, and then there is an internet of things architecture, or IOTA. So, the importance of all this or the specification of all these architectures, that is the 1M2M architecture or IoT WF architecture or Purdue model for control or IIRA or IOTA, is that these all architectures are actually industry specific. These are all industry specific architectures. So, see why? Because it is industry specific. It is important to be industry specific, right? Because we implement IoT devices in such a way that it is very application oriented. So these architectures that we have discussed until now, they are all industry specific architectures. So but see, industry specific architecture, all these architectures are different. For that reason, for the same reason, all these architectures are actually different from each other. So it is important to have something like a simplified IoT architecture for understanding the structure of IoT or the implementation of IoT in detail. So that is the reason why we have got a simplified IoT architecture. Okay, we have got a simplified IoT architecture. And so the simplified this architecture has got two parallel stacks. It has got two parallel stacks. And these stacks are a core IoT functional stack and an IoT data management and compute stack. That is a data management and computation or compute stack. So it is a two parallel stacks are there. So like this. Okay. So this is the core IoT stack. Or core IoT functional stack, and there is this data management and compute stack. Okay, so we will be discussing about the core IoT stack and data management and compute stack detail in the upcoming videos as a two videos. But now we are actually giving you a slight or like a detailed overview of how this simplified IoT architecture really performs or it works. So the core IoT stack has got three layers in it, or it has got three foundational building blocks of it. Okay, that is, there is a things layer, and on top of this we have got a communication network layer, and we have got an application layer. So this is actually the core IoT functional stack. Okay, and on the data management and compute stack, we have got the data computation mechanism. So this layer is actually giving you an overview. These represent the basic functional building blocks of IoT. So what this layer is actually doing is that it is collecting data. Okay, so we want some or the other kind of mechanism to actually manage the data, and that is the reason why we have got the data management and compute stack. Again, data management and compute stack is a three-layer architecture. It is also a three-layer architecture, and it has got an edge layer. We have got an edge computing layer, a fog computing layer, and a cloud computing layer. Okay, it is actually a three-layer architecture, and in between the two we implement security. So this is actually is the structure of the IoT simplified IoT architecture. Okay. So it has got two parallel stacks. There's a Core IoT and IoT data management stack. The Core IoT has got three basic building blocks of IoT, and these are things layer, computer network layer, application layer. And then on the IoT data management stack, we have got edge computing layer, fog computing layer, and cloud computing layer. So this is actually is a structure of simplified IoT architecture. Okay. So let's dive in detail about it. So the core IoT function stack, as I have told, is showing you a general architecture of how things work. Okay. So it has got, as I have told you, the three layers. This things, computer network, and application layer. So let me make a copy of this. So we are actually talking in detail about the core IoT architecture now. So as I have told you, it has got three layers: the things layer, the communication network layer, and the application layer. So the things layer, it is actually talking about the all the things in IoT. That is the sensors, the actuators, and the smart objects. Okay, that is what the things layer discuss about. And in the computer network layer, it can be further divided into 5 sublayers. So it can further be divided into 5 sublayers. 2, 3, sorry, 4 sublayers. Okay, it can be further divided into 4 sublayers. There is an these sublayers are, there is an access network sublayer, and there is a gateway and backhaul sublayer, and then there is a network management or transport sublayer, and then there is a network management sublayer. Okay, so the access network sublayer, so you see we have got a things layer, right? So in the things layer, what we are doing is we are deploying the things. They can be sensors or actuators or anything. So in the communication network layer, what we are doing is we are connecting the layer so that the devices can talk to each other or communicate with each other. And this communication layer has got 4 sub layers. The first one is the access network sub layer. So what is this access network sublayer doing is that this access network sublayer has got the access control access network access control protocols in it, the network access control protocols. So it is actually doing is that it is we have definitions of this about a range of these protocols, and we have got topology of these devices. So we are connecting these nodes, right? If these are the nodes, we are actually trying to connect them in computer network layer. So we while we connect these networks, we have to implement topologies. So there will be a pattern in which we connect these devices. That is called as the topology. So that is what we discuss in the access network. We'll be discussing about the range of the protocols, and we'll be talking about the topologies in which we are connecting them. Okay. Then we have got the gateways and backhaul sublayer. So gateways and backhaul sublayer, what we are doing is that, see these sensors and actuators, they actually collect data in every other occasion in it. So simply collecting data is not enough. You have to transport data to a computation part of it or to this part of it. Okay. So for transporting this data, you need something called as gateways. Gateways and backholes are actually very important in this. So in this gateway and backhaul sublayer, backhaul network sublayer, you are implementing gateways and backholes. Okay. So that is the gateway and backhaul network sublayer. And then you have got the network transport sublayer. So in the network transport sublayer, what you are actually doing is that you are trying to transport the data. Okay, you're trying to transport data from one node to the other node within the this is very important, because in gateway and backhaul network layer, what we are doing is that we are trying to transport data from the nodes to a computational unit here. So this is where we implement the gateways and backholes. Okay, so but this network transport layer is happening here in between the nodes. This is very important. Okay, this is called a network transport sublayer. So we are actually trying to transport layer. So for that we want what? We want transport layer protocols, and we want transport layer protocols there, like TCP or IP or anything like that. So then we have network management sublayer. So what is the network management sublayer is doing is that you see in IoT, as I've told you before, in IoT the nodes are constrained and the network is also constrained. Okay, so there are features of networks, like there are things like bandwidth and frequency and such things are there. So you have to manage the network. So there is some limit for data transfer, and you have to manage the network so that you can send data in a fruitful way. For that you want the network management sublayer. Okay, then we have the application layer. So what is this application layer doing is that it has got applications in it. Okay, so application layer has got two types of application. There is applications and there is analytics. So what is it doing is that it is actually using piece of softwares for applications and for analytic purpose. So this application, so this what is this application and analytics is doing is very important. So what is this analytics doing is that, see, we are actually collecting data and transmitting data in these two layers. Okay, and this transmitted and collected and transmitted data needs to be organized. It is very important to organize data, because in IoT the data that comes is in an unstructured form. So you have to structure that. That is done in the analytic layer. So there is two type of analytics being done. Okay, one is the data analytic and then there is the network analytic. So what is the data analytic is doing? That it is actually analyzing the data and organizing the data. In network, it is organizing or analyzing the network of it. What should be the structure and the topology and things like the bandwidth and the frequency and such things are actually managed by the network analytics layer. And data analytics layer, what is it doing is that it is organizing the data. Now, what is the application layer doing is that it is actually collecting, it is actually using the organized data for some purpose. Okay, it is using this for some purpose. There is actually two types of applications that we use in IoT. There is actually two types of them. These types of, first thing is the data application, and we have the control application. So this data application can also be called as analytical application and control applications. So what is the analytical application doing is that it is actually analyzing the organized data to produce information or for some specific purpose. Okay. For example, you're using a refrigerator. There are sensors there. Okay, so it is actually collecting the sensors and identifying the data, and it is doing some useful job there. Or let's imagine a heat control mechanism or temperature control mechanism. So it is analyzing the temperature and it is sending to an application, and what the application is doing is that it is doing something with the information, and it is doing something to control the temperature there. So that is done by the analytical applications. On the other hand, what the control applications is doing is that it is actually giving a general control of the entire IoT system. So there are two types of application, analytical applications and control applications. So that is what we have learned in the core IoT. And then we have got the IoT data management stack. In the IoT data management stack, what we are doing is we are actually managing and computing the data. So in this whole core IoT stack, we are actually collecting data and organizing data and using data. Okay. What we are doing in the IoT data management and computation stack is that we are actually managing the data and computing it so that we can make use of the data. The computation can be done in three ways. This is the edge computation, fog computation, and cloud computation. Okay. So this is how we actually implement it is a simplified IoT architecture. So let's discuss it once more, just give a summary of this. So the IoT simplified IoT architecture has got two stacks, two parallel stack. There is a core IoT stack. There's a core IoT stack, and then there is an IoT data management and a computation stack in there. Okay, in the core IoT stack, you have got three layers. There is a things layer, then there is a control network layer, and then there's the application layer. Okay, the control network has got four sublayers. This is the access network, the gateway and backhaul network, and then the network transport sublayer, and then the network management sublayer. And the application layer, you have got two things, or application sublayer and the analytics sublayer. In the application layer, you have got the applications. There's analytical applications and there is control applications. Okay, under the analytics layer, you are actually doing network analytics and data analytics in the analytics layer. Okay, so and then you have got the IoT data management sublayer. In this, you can have edge computation layer, fog computation, and cloud computing.